Use the English word free because the Italian word is clearer and better. Software which is not free, we call proprietary software, non-free software, user-subjugating software. Proprietary software is a system of digital colonization, colonizing people through their computers. And like any colonial system, it keeps people divided and helpless. Divided because each one is forbidden to share copies with others. And helpless because the users don't have the source code, so they can't change anything. They can't even verify independently what the program really does. And often these programs contain malicious features, which are designed to hurt the user, not serve the user. I'll tell you more about that later. Not just police. A few months ago, the coffee program was leaked on the net. And it's now circulating among people whose only relationship with the police is being on the wanted list. So they can use it to enter computers also. Another example is the Amazon Kindle, which is an e-book reader. I should explain that Kindle means to start a fire. That product was apparently designed to burn our books. Now, that product does surveillance, restriction, and has a back door. The surveillance is because the only way to buy a book to read in that device is to buy it from Amazon. And Amazon forces customers to identify themselves, and the book has to be bought for a particular device associated with a person. So Amazon gets to maintain a list of all the books that anyone has bought. And even that by itself is intolerable in a free society. Such a list must not exist anywhere. But that's not all. There are also digital handcuffs, which stop people from giving away their books, selling their books to a used bookstore, lending their books to a friend. All those things Amazon wants to make illegal and claims to have made illegal, as well as, they hope, impossible. These were not unauthorized copies that they erased. These were the authorized copies. And the book was 1984 by George Orwell. And by erasing this book, they showed just how Orwellian their product is. Don't use any product with digital restrictions management unless you personally have the means to break the handcuffs. Otherwise, never accept such a product. Because those products are designed specifically to attack your programmers like me. Freedom 1 is not enough because we're busy. And there's so much free software already that no one user is capable of personally studying and mastering all the code, all the source code for the software she uses, and personally writing all the changes that she might want, because that's too much work for one human being. So the only way we can fully have control of our computing is to do it working together, collaborating. And for that, we need freedom 3, the freedom to contribute to your community, the freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions, With that, we can work together to control our software. Any group of people with common interests can work together on the version of this program that does what they want. And the work only has to be done once in order for all of them to use it. So if a few people release a free program, and it mostly does what we want, so we use it, but we wish for certain improvements, somebody can start with that program and make some of the improvements and publish his modified version. And someone else can start with that and make some more of these improvements we all want and release her modified version. And a few people can start with that and implement the rest and release their modified version. And then we'll all switch to that because it does what we want. And we'll thank them. And it only had to be written once in order for all of us to use it. Uh-oh, a penguin, oh no! I am Saint Ignatius of the Church of Emacs. I bless your computer, my child. Emacs started out as a text editor which was extensible, and it became a way of life for many users because it had been extended so much they could do all their computing inside Emacs. And then it became a church with the launch of the news group alt.religion.emacs. Today in the Church of Emacs we have a great schism between several rival versions of Emacs. And we also have saints but no gods. Instead of gods, we worship an editor. To be a member of the Church of Emacs, you must recite the Confession of the Faith. You must say, there is no system but GNU, and Linux is one of its kernels. Then if you become a real expert using the system, you can celebrate this with our ceremony, the Fubar Mitzvah, in which you chant lines from the system source code. Then we also have the cult of the Virgin of Emacs. The Virgin of Emacs is anyone who has not yet learned to use Emacs. And according to the Church of Emacs, giving the Virgin of Emacs the opportunity to lose Emacs virginity is considered a blessed act. There is also the Emacs pilgrimage, which consists of invoking all the commands of Emacs in alphabetical order, by hand. I don't think anyone knows what the result of that would be. But then, I should mention that the Church of Emacs has certain advantages compared with other churches, because being a saint in the Church of Emacs does not require celibacy. However, it does require living a life of moral purity. You must exorcise the evil proprietary operating systems that have possessed computers under your control or set up for your regular use. And then install a wholly free operating system where holy can be spelled in more than one way. And then only use and install free software with and on the system. If you make this vow and you live by it, then you too will be a saint and you will have the right to wear a halo, if you can find one, because they don't make them anymore. And sometimes people ask me whether it is a sin in the Church of Emacs to use the other editor, VI. It's true that VI is the editor of the beast. But using a free implementation of VI is not a sin, it's a penance. Now, some people have asked whether my halo is really an old computer disk. This is no computer disk, this is my halo. But it was a computer disk in a previous existence. So thank you. Does is invite people not to pay attention to the questions that determine whether things are good or bad. So the term cloud computing means pay no attention to who has your data or who does the computing, and basically let anybody at all walk all over you. Now you want to pay attention to who controls your computing, namely it should be you. But I don't want to say cloud computing is bad because that's too general. I don't want to say cloud computing is good because that's too general. There's nothing you can say about an overgeneralization like that. What I want to say is there are some ways of using the network which are unjust because they trample your freedom. And you should pay attention to what's going on. The thing that I've identified that's bad is software as a service. That means you're doing your own computing. Basically, you're doing something you could do on your own computer, but you're not doing it on your own computer. Instead, you're sending the data to someone else's computer, controlled by him, and then he does the computing, and you don't really know what he's doing, and he sends you back the results. This is software as a service, and it takes away your freedom the same way proprietary software does. Or, sorry, the bad result is the same as the bad result of proprietary software. So don't ever use it. Many of the Google services will work even if you reject the JavaScript program. So those services are okay except for sending you the non-free JavaScript. They should make those JavaScript programs free. And then I'd have no criticism of those services. But there is one, namely Google Earth, which requires that the user install a special non-free client, and it won't run without that client. So that's totally no good. There's no possible excuse for that. And then there is Google Docs, which is basically software as a service. And so you shouldn't use Google Docs. We should always judge the various products and services of a company separately, because it's useful to be able to say that a company does a few things which are good and a few things which are bad. That enables us to put more pressure on the company to do more of what's good and less of what's bad. Now, Google has done something very confusing. They have three different things, three different software products that are called something more or less like Chrome. And they're totally different. There's a proprietary browser called Chrome, which is obviously no good at all. Then there is a free software package called Chromium, which does, however, have some bad aspects, and there are people working on a modified version which gets rid of those. Because it is free software, they can do that. And then there's something called Chrome OS, which is a GNU/Linux distribution. And I don't think it's meant to be entirely free. Also, the way they plan to distribute it is in specially designed products in such a way, actually, the crucial thing is it's designed so you can't install software at all. So in order to be able to install software, you need to get a modified version of Chrome OS.